The Supreme Court of the United States ruled that race can no longer be used as a factor in determining college admissions. All of the Republican appointed justices on the court, all 6 of them, said that affirmative action has got to go. It's unconstitutional. It's unfair. It's time for it to be gone. All 3 of the Democratic appointed justices on the Supreme Court stuck together and said it should stay. They're arguing that the court is essentially living in a fantasy world where race is no longer a deal. Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman on the court, saying, this is like Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake. Like they're essentially blind to the reality of how race impacts people's lives. Clarence Thomas, a black man himself, read his opinion out loud, his concurring opinion, which is very unusual for a justice to do. He says that his degree from Yale, which he got thanks to affirmative action, was essentially worthless because so many people thought he wasn't valued and that he got it unfairly. He thinks the system itself can set people up to fail, to put students in positions that they're not ready to be at. And that's not good for them, and it's not good for the system. Sonia Sotomayor read her dissent from the bench, which also doesn't happen that much. And it shows how fired up the court is about this issue, like the country is. And she's arguing the complete opposite of what Clarence Thomas is saying. And so you see a lot of reaction pouring in all over the country. In California, this decision doesn't really impact public schools. We had something called Prop 209 years ago, which was passed by California voters, which said that race could not be a factor used in public schools admissions. So UCLA, UC Berkeley, the Cal State schools like Cal State Long Beach, San Diego State, they haven't been able to use it for years. Folks on the left would point out that Black and Hispanic admissions went down after that decision was put into place. The private schools in California, places like USC, have been able to use it. And we're seeing a reaction from the president of USC, Carol Folt, saying that she's very frustrated by what happened in terms of this decision. And you're seeing lawmakers like Gavin Newsom and others rushing to criticize it. And you're seeing conservatives, including Donald Trump, rushing to praise it. And Donald Trump's pretty key here because this decision is proof, if you didn't need it, that perhaps the most important part of a presidential election, which is often not talked about that much, is who are they going to appoint to the Supreme Court? Look back to 2016. I remember covering that race in the final weeks and having so many people in the street tell me they're the lesser of two evils, they're both bad, they're the same, what's the difference? I'm not going to vote. Here's the difference. It is increasingly clear that if Hillary Clinton was president in 2016, she would have appointed very different justices to the court, and this decision would not be happening today. The Roe v. Wade decision, overturning abortion rights and all that precedent, would not be happening today. Conservatives who agree with this should be very, very happy that Donald Trump got 3 justices on the court. And it's a reminder also that justices stay on the court a whole lot longer than the presidents who appointed them stay in power. And many of these justices appointed by Trump could be in place for 30 or 40 years. So it's going to bring up the conversation about Supreme Court reform again, although right now, currently, there are not anywhere close to the votes to make that sort of change. So it looks like this Supreme Court, which is driven by conservatives, is probably going to stay that way for many years to come. It's really fascinating to watch. It's a reminder of the importance of our system. And there's even more rulings to come from the Supreme Court. We'll have updates on that when they come out. But in terms of today, a historic moment for America and a reminder that elections have consequences.